Yes, I do drive the BRZ in the wintertime. Today I wanted to make a video on what that's like, what you need to do it, and this kind of is going to apply to a lot of different sports cars. You're going to run into the same issues, the same levels of enjoyment, and just maybe some setbacks along the way, but in the end I think it's worth it. So I've owned this BRZ since 2014. I bought it brand new in October. It's been my daily driver for a lot of that. I've bought some other cars in between, but I've used it pretty much as a daily driver. This isn't a garage queen. I can throw my mountain bike in the back. You fold the seats down, you get a ton of storage space. You can fit people in the back seat in a pinch. It's actually a really practical sports car and serves most of my needs personally as a driver and on a daily use basis. It gets really good gas mileage. It's been reliable, and it's really, really fun to drive and own. Ever since I've owned this car, I've probably enjoyed it the most driving it in the winter, to be perfectly honest. It's tail happy, it's fun, it keeps you on edge, but it's a little bit of a challenge too. So the first thing you're going to need to drive your BRZ or any sports car in the winter, this goes without saying, is snow tires. Now right now I have on here the Continental WinterContact SIs. You want a tall and skinny tire. You can even go taller than stock on these BRZs. You can squeeze 205 60/16s on here, which I think is probably about the perfect size. I made a little bit of a mistake buying these. These are 195 55/16s, and they're a little bit shorter than stock. My thinking was, oh, it'll be better for gearing, I'll have more power and quicker acceleration. But as a result, I've actually ended up with less ground clearance, which isn't very ideal. I'm going to burn these off and go with a taller tire next time. I've actually never been stuck in this car. I've ice raced it, I've driven on back roads, I've driven it through parking lots. It is definitely limited with ground clearance, but it does okay for a small, lightweight rear-wheel drive sports car. I usually don't need sandbags, but you can throw them in the back in a pinch, and yeah, that kind of sums it up. I'll tell you a little bit about this tire. Before this, I had the Blizzak WS80s on here. The WS80s were better in the snow and the ice, just slightly though. But these WinterContact SIs, in my opinion, are so much better in the wet and the dry that they absolutely blow the WS80 out of the water for daily driving purposes. They get you through the slick stuff, they get you through the deep snow and the ice, and they have really, really good road manners in the wet, which is how the roads are most of the time, to be honest. All right, let's take this thing for a drive. Not a whole lot new with the BRZ. I put the stock intake back on. I reflashed the tune, just because I noticed that the OpenFlash tablet tunes do recommend that you run them with the stock intakes. And as a result, the car runs a little bit smoother, a little bit nicer. It feels good. I'm really happy with the power level on this car. Again, FT86 Speedfactory catted unequal length header. The drive dynamics, the suspension, all the new parts from 2017 BRZ 86 really did a really good job bringing this car together here. There we go. So let's show you what it's like to drive in some deep snow. We're on a gravel road here. Underneath this is ice, but on top we have about maybe 4 to 6 inches of snow. You're not just going to plow through stuff, think that you're going to get through it all easily. You're going to have to be a little bit involved in the driving experience. If I turn traction control on, it helps a little bit, but the car's still moving around. It's still going to get a little bit tail happy. But overall, you can keep this car pretty well maintained in a straight line in deeper conditions. I like to drive with the traction control off just because this car is so easy to place, it's so flickable, and you don't have to worry about any unpredictability with how the car behaves. let's go start from a complete stop here and see how it starts off. If you get going slowly, you have plenty of traction. You can just maintain a little bit of wheel spin to keep it going. Now we're in a pretty deep section here. Let's see if we can make it out of this driveway. No problem. These skinny tires just cut through everything. It's pretty awesome. So what's it like to drive this in the winter? There's a lot of different conditions that you see. There's ice, there's deep snow, there's light snow, there's slight dustings, there's dry roads, wet roads. Well, first of all, it's doable. You can make it happen. You can daily drive this and not kill yourself or get stuck all the time. There are some disadvantages though. You're in a smaller car. Everyone else is driving their trucks and SUVs in the winter, and you're in a BRZ, and yes, this has a really nice 5-star crash test rating, but only against another BRZ. If you're in an accident with a larger SUV or truck, you're probably not going to fare as well. The wins from the BRZ really come when you're enjoying this thing, and chances are you're going to end up seeking out bad conditions more than you are going to be actually experiencing them, if you know what I mean. It's interesting because I'm in a position now where I have this Lexus GX, which is just gets through everything in the winter. Doesn't care. Doesn't even feel like there's snow on the ground when there's 6 inches. It's pretty amazing. And it's kind of the polar opposite of this BRZ. But both are capable and fun in their own right. And honestly, I can't really tell you which I prefer. I kind of like the variety of being able to hoon around a little bit in the wintertime and get this car a little bit sideways. I enjoy the challenge of driving it in a little bit of anger through the snow. And the GX is a little bit more of a relaxing experience. Yeah, you can kind of be on your toes a little bit with this BRZ, but if you have the proper tires, you'll be just fine. One thing I experienced with this car was I noticed the suspension really stiffen up a lot in the wintertime just because the colder temperatures and the shocks just get a little bit stiffer. That fluid can't move as easily. So when I switched to the new 2017 Plus OEM suspension swap from the stock suspension, that really helped quite a bit. And Koni adjustable inserts helped a lot with ride quality too. So you can expect your ride quality to decrease a lot unless you have aftermarket suspension. Personally, I would want as much ground clearance as possible, so that's why I've stuck with the stock ride height. Driving in the winter with this car definitely teaches you to be a better driver. You know, this car is super well balanced. It really behaves very well in slippery conditions. But it takes a little bit of effort to get right, and I think that can be very rewarding as a driver, and it can kind of teach you to grow a little bit too, which is always a lot of fun. It's definitely not boring, I'll say that much. Luckily, it has a lot of steering angle to bring you back when things get sideways. Guys, this is kind of what it's all about right here. Those few moments when you just get it right. Pretty awesome traction on this road. So we just have a light, pretty hard-packed layer of snow, but it's fresh from the night before. And the traction on these Continentals is really quite good. Braking performance is just awesome. It's pretty impressive. See those rooster tails coming out of the back there. This thing is so rewarding to drive. So what else? The only other thing I would recommend highly for winter driving is to rust-proof your BRZ just to be safe. I've driven this car for 4 years in the winter, from 2014 through 2018, and I haven't had any rust issues. Yeah, my end links are a little bit corroded, but that's about it. No body rust, no issues. And I did a pretty thorough inspection this fall before I put the winter tires on, just to make sure. And then I took it to Crown rust proofing just to kind of get everything done. And I'll probably keep that up for a few years. My system is I'll go to Crown, get it rust proofed, and I did this with the Lexus GX too. I'll get it rust proofed, and then I'll go drive on a really dusty, dirty road, get all that oil coated with a nice layer of dust and sand and dirt, and that'll kind of solidify over a few years and a few repetitions, and you'll be in pretty good shape with anti-corrosion. I really like Crown because they get into the nooks and crannies a little bit better than the competitors. Their oil is very fine, very thin, and it kind of mists all throughout. And they'll put some holes in your side sills and kind of, I'll show you what that looks like here when we get out of the car, but it's a very thorough job, and it runs down for a week or two, but it doesn't stain your driveway or anything. I might do a video on Crown rust control here in about once spring comes around and we've wrapped up the winter. And again, it's not a necessity to get it rust proofed, but I think it's definitely something that is important and can just add to the longevity of your car if you're going to keep it for a long time, like I am with this. So while we're on the subject of rust control, let me show you guys exactly what Crown does. Again, there's no sponsorship or anything here. They're just a product that I use. Okay, so what they do is they drill a few holes right here in your door sill, and then they'll spray the rust coating in, and it'll just kind of get all throughout the inside so that your car doesn't rust from the inside out, because that's typically what happens. And then they'll spray the surfaces of everything underneath, getting kind of deep into your chassis and frame, depending on what you have. They'll spray up into the trunk. You'll have leaks down that come through here. And they'll even do a little bit in the engine bay in specific areas. They know what to target, and they know what areas to hit so that they don't rust. The anti-corrosion properties last for about, I think it's 14 months or so, so a little bit over a year, but they recommend that you get it rust-proofed about once a year. Alright guys, well, that's kind of going to wrap this video up. I'm going to hit an entrance ramp for you and let you hear the exhaust a little bit more, but that's all I have to say on winter driving the BRZ. Get some skinny tires, get your car rust-proofed, keep the shiny side up. Just have fun. When I bought this car, it was my only vehicle, and shortly after I ended up buying the 850R too, but I bought this BRZ with the intention of it being my daily driver and sole vehicle, and it's really served that purpose quite well. I think anyone who's looking to buy this as their, just their fun car, or as just their only vehicle, you could totally make it happen. It takes a little bit of creativity and a little bit of sacrifices here and there in the terms of it's still a sports car. It's not a practical SUV or crossover or sedan, but there's kind of something cool to daily driving a sports car and owning that as kind of your thing. It's you feel a little bit like, oh hey, I'm actually a real car enthusiast by driving my sports car all year round instead of taking the easy way out and driving an SUV or something. It makes you feel a little bit like a badass. Just saying. Show you guys a little bit of sampling of wet traction here with these Continentals. The grip with these tires, just considering they're even 195s, is absolutely phenomenal. The WS80s, I would have spun out and crashed already. They were really, really sketchy in the wet and even on dry pavement. And I've kind of experienced that with a lot of Blizzaks. Anyway guys, for the full mod list, check out the description. You know where to go. There's lots of stuff in there on what I've done to this car, but ultimately these are great in stock form too, especially the new 2017 plus BRZs and 86s. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. We will see you hopefully soon. Take it easy.